Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CCS Season 3 selection show. I'm joined by Jonas. We got a fun weekend ahead of us next week, and it's going to be a ton of fun, a lot to break down here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, honestly, this selection show, there's so much to go over, but we're preparing for champs here in CCS Season 3, and I couldn't be more excited.
A lot of fun coming up, and there's been a lot that's gone on here in the last couple of weeks. Conference tournaments wrapped up just last weekend. We saw 10 teams book automatic tickets to next weekend. There's a 32-team single elimination bracket awaiting us.
Yeah, it should be an insane bracket. Obviously, we will see it later on, but there are some incredible teams going head to head, of course, merging the conferences, seeing all these teams mixed together, seeing how the ranks really play out. It should be incredible.
Incredible indeed. And the regular season, just 6 weeks long, a ton of upsets for the course of the season, a couple of great storylines that are built up. Nebraska, we'll see how the committee believes if they should be in or if they are left out, but that's one storyline to keep following. We saw the reverse sweep in the conference tournament, and it's been a crazy season.
Yeah, it really has. There has been some absolutely insane matches. The conference playoffs have not disappointed any of the stretch imaginable. We have gotten some incredible series played, couple game sevens all the way throughout, even in the grand. So hoping that continues through the CCS championship bracket, but only time will tell.
We closed out the season 2 with that Game 7 Colorado KU series where Colorado erased that 3-1 deficit, came back to win it in Game 7, and we'll take a look at how we got here with our conference champions and the 10 teams, oh goodness, that booked their tickets to Season 3, the championships: UNC Black, Colorado, Florida State, San Diego State, Tennessee, FIU, Oregon, James Madison, Connecticut, and Sac State.
Yeah, all these teams did an incredible job making their way through those brackets. They had to face a lot of tough competition to get here, but they all prevailed, and now they need to keep that up through the championship bracket.
Indeed, these 10 teams are obviously guaranteed spots in next weekend's tournament. But looking forward though, what team are you most excited to watch on this list?
I think one of the teams I'm always excited to see, Tennessee, they have been moving really, really well. Of course, that roster seemed to get better and better. Seeing San Diego State as the reigning runner-ups, they fell to Kansas in the grand finals of champions last series. They'll be fun to watch. Colorado, always excited to watch them. Seeing even a team like Oregon, as a West Coast guy myself, I'm excited to see how far they get.
Knowing the bracket myself, I am excited to watch Oregon, how their run goes, and I think a couple of these teams could be exciting. Like Sac State, their storyline is great. Tennessee is super solid. They're going to be a tough team to beat, and they're on a tough side. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens in Colorado too. That was a crazy series with Kansas, and I think they're due for a super deep run. They won the kickoff tournament, so they've got nothing to lose, and they're here to prove themselves.
Yeah, there's been a ton of tough series for all of these teams. I don't think really anyone got here without having to work quite a bit. But, we'll see if they're able to prevail, if they're able to stay dominant all throughout. I think the team that had probably the easiest time moving through was San Diego State, who actually, I believe, fully swept their conference bracket. So I think they're going to be feeling confident going into this one.
Indeed. I think let's go over the format real quick. We saw 10 conference champions automatically book spots to the CCS championships. 22 teams will join the field selected by the selection committee at an at-large bid. Tournament single elimination. It is do or die starting from round 1.
That just adds to the pressure. We might see some of these tough teams fall early. That's why you see some of those big upsets and stuff like March Madness, because single elim, you just take one bad day and you're suddenly out of this tournament.
For anyone that missed the announcement also, we had these first 2 rounds selected as best of 5s. The committee elected to change the rules to do a best of 7. So everything BO7 the whole way through. 4 games, you win, you move on. 4 games, you lose, your run's over, you're out. So it's going to be a lot of fun next weekend. 32 teams all the way down to 1 team remaining.
It'll be insane to see who that championship winner is, because we've seen some incredible Rocket League. Obviously, the growth from Season 2, absolutely incredible. And now all of it colliding here in the CCS championship. It should be really one heck of a bracket, one heck of a tournament.
Indeed, and we'll go over a couple of rules just real quick. Any team that played twice over the course of the season must not meet until the 3rd round of the tournament. There are no conference rematches in round 1. Everything single elimination. This committee seeded 1 through 8 on the top 2 lines as 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, etc. Everything else selected by a region as closest to the school of proximity. Now moving forward, I know you guys are. This is what you're here for. Jordan, are you ready?
I am indeed. Let's get it going.
Let's get right into the selection show. We're going to start things off here in the South region. This is one of the most competitive regions of the bracket, in my opinion. And I think it's no surprise who comes in at number 1. We'll go and reveal it now. The Buffaloes of Colorado, the number 1 overall seed here in the CCS Championships.
Yeah, after that conference final win against Kansas, I mean, no one's more deserving of this spot. They have had an incredible season. Of course, got a little bit shaky against Kansas. Almost looked like they were going to go down 4-1, but they pulled it all the way back in Game 7, taking that number 1 spot in the South.
Colorado, deep roster, Yokes, the captain, leads this team through the tournament. They won the kickoff tournament, too. This is a super solid roster. I think their opponent, they might be set up for doom. But it's another. The Gamecocks is Jack State.
Yeah, Jack State, they have a tough road ahead of them. First, having to upset Colorado, and then you'll see the other teams that they're going to have to beat just to make it even further. But yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for them to try and make an impact here against a team like the Buffaloes in the first round.
And Jack State's got a tough game ahead in that 1 versus 8 game. I mean, it's not, you're not supposed to win. It's a tough game, but the Gamecocks they're about 3rd place in their conference tournament with the L to LA Tech and 4. That was a rough series from them, but the committee still gave them the bid. They barely slid in, but I think they're excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to look at the positive of this side. You know, you have a tough first round ahead of you. You didn't maybe place as you wanted to in terms of seeding, but you made it into the tournament. You have a chance at one of the most historic upsets in CCS, if not the most historic. So might as well make the best of it.
Moving forward, number 4 in the South, the Longhorns of Texas joined the field. This is a very interesting roster, and I think we could see a Texas-Colorado round 2 game if it all pans out.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how Texas performed because this is a team, they had a great regular season, but in the conference tournament, they got first rounded by the Alabama Crimson Tide in a sweep.
They still earned a 4 as well. This is maybe a high seed for Texas, but they joined the field, talented roster, and I think their opponent, the Buds at GSU. This is going to be a great game in round 1. The Buds get into the field at 2nd place, losing to James Madison in their championship game, but again, another talented roster. This is a heck of a round 1 game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how GSU really perform. I mean, James Madison really kind of led that conference all the way through, took them down 4-1 in the conference grand finals, but they still made quite an impact, and now they're going to go against some different teams, escape James Madison for quite a little bit. We'll see, but having to take down Texas, that should be a great first-round matchup.
Well, unfortunately, news for Buds. That escape isn't going to be quite too long. Is James Madison actually here in the South, the 2 seed, and the Bulldogs join the field at number 2?
Yeah, so if James Madison and GSU both get back-to-back wins and meet each other later on in the bracket, that would be absolutely insane. But yeah, James Madison, a pretty solid 2 seed here in the South, obviously, leading their conference quite dominantly. But we'll see if that continues now moving into this championship bracket.
James Madison earning that 8 seed as they fall just at the end of the 2 lines, so they'll be matched up with the number 1 overall seed here in the South, Colorado. That could see a JMU Colorado quarterfinal game on Saturday night at around 9 or 10 Eastern, as that's going to be a late game on Saturday if both teams advance. And rounding out JMU's opponent, a conference champion upset, UNT Black at number 7.
Yeah, this is a team who didn't actually really look like they were going to make the tournament, but then they upset Charlotte in the conference grand finals, and that was most likely their saving grace. They took down Charlotte 4-2 in those conference grand finals. They picked up a spot in the South as the 7th seed, but they're going to have to take down JMU to move on.
Indeed, and moving through the course, obviously, James Madison coming in undefeated, one of 6 remaining unbeaten teams after the elimination of Kansas from the field. I mean, it's been crazy watching undefeateds fall and updating that map every single week, which a lot of you guys seem to love, and we're going to bring it back next season, hopefully, but it is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun to make myself. It's a couple hours in process, but, I mean, 5 unbeaten teams, JMU is one of them.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're such a solid team. It's going to be tough for UNT Black to kind of overcome that hurdle, but Another upset potential is there. They'll really have to work against the grindstone, just like Jack State. But you know what? Anything's possible.
Anything's possible indeed. Joining this field, number 3, another Texas team, Texas A&M. 0-4 to Tennessee in that conference tournament final, but they do get an at-large here, number 3 in the South, and this is a super solid region that's looking out to be.
I mean, they've looked really good through their group stage, through the regular season. They were 8-0 through the regular season. Of course, didn't cross paths with Tennessee until the grand finals, where they fell in an 0-4 sweep. So they really struggled against Tennessee, but of course, that is UTK. So we'll see how they perform in this South bracket. Potential to, meet against James Madison, even Colorado, if they make it that far, and so do the Buffaloes. That could be an incredible matchup.
It could be indeed, if they can go all the way and get past James Madison or UNT Black and their round 1 opponent here, which I think they are a little bit upset prone. This team pulled off a massive win to get here, to get an at-large. Number 6, Central Florida joins the South region as a final team here in the South.
Yeah, we'll see what the Knights can bring to the table against the Aggies. Of course, in their conference final, they did sweep Texas Tech, but then fell to a sweep to Kansas, who eventually, fell to Colorado. But they're a pretty solid team. They, as you mentioned, they have that upset potential, so could be looking at that 6-3 upset. It's definitely a potential.
I think so, for sure. I think a lot of these games are upset potential. 3 of them, probably the Texas Buds could go either way. UNT Black could pull it off. Central Florida could pull off an upset over Texas A&M. I mean, in my prediction, I'll put it out later, but Central Florida team to watch next weekend. They're a team that could really go deep in this tournament. I think Colorado is probably the favorite to advance out of the South, but this should be a pretty fun portion of the bracket.
Yeah, definitely excited to see who's able to come out on top, see if those high seeds stay dominant, but see if we see that upside potential as well. But the South looks pretty stacked, so we'll see who's able to come out of it victorious.
Indeed. Well, let's keep moving on. Now, the bottom of the left side of the bracket, as we'll go straight down to the East region here, starting out at number 1, conference champion, number 4 overall seed, the Volunteers.
Yeah, Tennessee, I mean, this is a team who, they have been running through their competition as of late. Very excited to see if they're able to keep up that look here in the CCS championship. But, we'll see how their bracket finds them. But I think they're going to be going a pretty long ways regardless.
Number 4 overall seed for Tennessee. They fall at the end of the 1 line. Volunteers, again, another top team. Their opponent in round 1, barely scraping in. The Panthers of Pittsburgh. They beat Cal just to barely get an at-large. That was pretty much a play-in game for both those teams. Pittsburgh won it, advanced to the semifinal, and fell just short of Florida State in the perfect sweep, actually, where Florida State dominated on both fronts.
Yeah, having to make it in there was such a close call for Pitt, but you got to give them credit for making it in. And now, unfortunately, because they just scraped in, having to go against UTK, that is, again, another very tough pull. All of these 1 seeds seem so lethal. So Pitt having to face off against the Volunteers round 1. There's potential if Pitt are having an incredible day and Tennessee maybe not having their best. There is a slight potential for an 8-1 upset, but I think Tennessee are going to be looking to make quick work.
I would imagine. I don't think Pitt has a chance, but we'll see how the Pittsburgh boys get focused and get prepared for this game. It's just a big one on next Friday, just 1 round on Friday, so they've got a lot of time to prepare for this and get ready to go. It's again, it's best of 7. We'll see what Pitt can do. But moving forward, number 4, UConn, the Huskies, join the field here in the East. 4 seed for UConn.
Yeah, always fun to watch UConn play. They did, get that automatic victory. They had an incredible series over Butler in their conference grand finals where they won 4-1 over the Bulldogs. That was a great look for that team.
It wasn't, they dominated Butler. It was 2 of those games were blowouts. Gavin went insane. This is a team, if their offense is firing in all cylinders, they might be poised for a run.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to be trying to make it far, but they have to take down their next opponent and then, maybe Tennessee. So it'll be tough to see them get really far. But if they keep playing their hearts out, if they keep up that potential that we saw against Butler, they do have a very solid chance at making a decent run.
And their opponent, number 5 after an upset, Alabama, the Crimson Tide, here in the East, 4-5 with Connecticut. This should be a really fun game.
I mean, this is a team that I really want to see more of. Of course, got to see them, take on the Aggies. They did go down 2-4 against Texas A&M, but they had a pretty great series. Of course, the massive upset against the Longhorns in the quarterfinals of their conference tournament was an insane look for this team, hoping that the Crimson Tide are able to do work. It'll be really interesting seeing them and UConn clash in round one.
Oh, they had to knock off Texas to pretty much get an at-large. I think if they lost that, it would have been real close if they got in or if they were left out. But they do get a bid here. UConn's a tough round one pull, as any 4 or 5 game would be. But this is a game I'm super excited to watch next weekend.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, that one most likely will be broadcasted, but it loud and proud. I mean, on one of the streams, but it should be a very tough match for both teams. I'm really excited to see who comes out on top.
So we'll have 16 games all on stream across 4 streams next weekend. So every single game here at the championships will be broadcasted by either our stream, the B stream, the C stream, or D stream. We'll put out the schedule sometime next weekend or this weekend prior to next Friday. But moving forward, the number 5 overall seed, number 2 here in the East, the Seminoles of Florida State.
Yeah, we'll see how Florida State are able to compete at this one. Of course, they're trying to make it even further than they did. Of course, made top 4 last season in the CCS championship, got eliminated in game 7 by San Diego State. So now sitting at the 2 seed in the East, they are looking to make a run. They'll have to take out the bottom side of the bracket and then most likely Tennessee later on. So we'll see what they can do.
I mean, they've got a tough round 1 opponent too, but we'll go ahead and reveal that here in a couple of seconds. Is Illinois, their round 1 opponent, the Fighting Illini. This is a top 2-7 game for both teams, and this is shaping up to be another tough bracket. This is according to natural seeding, the toughest bracket out of the 4.
Yeah, Illinois was a team who we expected to really come in hot in the regular season. They started off a little bit slow, kind of fell down to finish 4th in their conference. We're excited to see how they perform against Florida State again. They're one of those teams that if they're on their game, they definitely could make an upset happen.
This is a 2-7 game. Some people might take the upset. This is a game that could go either way. Florida State, though, I expect to dominate this series as they have in the conference tournament. They've looked good all season after pulling off that reverse sweep against Syracuse in week 6. But I mean, Connecticut Alabama too is a great game in round 1 here. In Florida State's Illinois, another great game to watch if you're interested in watching for upsets. That'll be a fun one. Moving forward though, number 3 in the East, the Bearcats, Cincinnati, slide in here.
Yeah, this is another team that I'm excited to see how far they get. They're going to have to try and take down their round 1 opponent. Then most likely, they're going to have to most likely play Florida State. And then again, eventually probably a team like Tennessee. So a very tough bracket to be put in. Even as the 3 seed, they're going to have their work cut out for them. Yeah,
this is a tough pull for Cincinnati. This bracket's tough. But again, they've looked poised. They've looked solid this season. Getting that win over Utah was great for them. And I think they just had a tough round 2 game against Colorado. That was just a tough one. I mean, Yokes and Super Sub Digo went absolutely bonkers in that series offensively. The mechanical masterclass was there. Cincinnati had a rough night, but they can bounce back. They can make a run here in the tournament. And we'll go around the region. Number 6, LA Tech. Team that maybe could pull off an upset.
Yeah, this is another round 1 upset potential match here. Louisiana Tech trying to do some work there against Cincinnati, maybe try and get, an even higher round matchup. They did make it all the way into the grand finals of their conference tournament, of course, getting swept by Florida International, but had a pretty good run, and we'll see what they can bring to the table against a team like Cincinnati.
Well, this region just has so many great round 1 games. I mean, I'm excited to watch this bracket's going to be a ton of fun next weekend. There's going to be so many good games, so many close games, and it's shaping up to be an exciting bracket.
Yeah, it really will be. I mean, seeing Connecticut versus Alabama, one of the best 4 or 5 matches we have. Seeing Tennessee, of course, in the East. Florida State are going to be looking to do work. Illinois, they have that upset potential. Cincinnati looking to do work as well. It should be honestly, it's going to be a bloodbath in the East.
I think it is too. I mean, I think a lot of these games are due for some long ones, and we'll go ahead and move forward now to the right side of the bracket. We just revealed the left side with the South and the East. Now moving forward to the West, we'll start at the top, on the top right corner of our bracket. Number 2 overall seed, San Diego State here in the West.
I mean, I don't know who else I would pick to represent the West. San Diego State have been doing an incredible job. They have really been leading the way. As mentioned earlier, they did perfectly sweep through their conference bracket. I mean, swept Utah State, swept UNM, and then swept Nevada in the grand finals to make it to the spot, well deserving of the 1 seed.
And the number 7 overall seed, or sorry, the second to worst 8 seed here in the West, Rutgers, here in the West region with SDSU is their matched up opponent in round 1. This is a rough pull for the Rutgers, but I think out of the 1 versus 8 matchups, this is the one that might see an upset happen.
Yeah, this is a really tough match for the Rutgers. They had a bit of an early exit in their conference tournament, getting swept by the Ducks of Oregon, and now trying to shake it off. They made it in as the 8 seed, trying to find some way to take down the Aztecs at San Diego State, but it's going to be a lot of work for them to do.
Yeah, I think this 1-8 game is. I mean, I don't think any 1-8s are going to lose. I don't think any 1 seeds will lose. But I think if I had to pick one, Rutgers is the strongest 8 seed in this tournament, I think. So I don't know if they got the firepower to take down SDSU. But again, we'll see. It's what this tournament's about. It's single limb. Anything can happen.
Yeah, just try and catch your 1 seed opponent on an off day. Try and capitalize, maybe try and make it even further as an 8 seed. Trying to take down maybe that 4 or 5 seed. Try and get even further. Try and secure top 8 spot. But it'll be tough as San Diego State. That's just a beast of a team.
Indeed, SCSU's seeding opponent actually couldn't happen because they were in the same conference. So that's why that round 1 game is not how it was supposed to be, but seeding, the bracket rules don't let that happen. Moving forward, number 4, team that has looked a little bit struggling lately, but Syracuse joined the field at number 4 here. Interesting pick from the committee, but the Orange in round 1, a tough bracket bowl for them.
Yeah, of course, having to try and win their first round match against the upcoming 5 seed and then most likely play San Diego State. That's going to be tough for them. Of course, they had a couple tough series in their conference tournament. They went all the way to game 5 with Louisville and then went all the way to game 7 with Virginia Tech, of course, winning both, but then having to forfeit in the conference grand finals against the Seminoles of Florida State.
Yeah, and UConn actually had the higher seed, so they did claim the East region as a 4 seed. So Syracuse not in the East, not in the Midwest either. So they joined the West field here with SDSU as their opponent in round 1. This is a game that really is 50-50. I'm so sad it's on the mainstream, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Sacramento State as the 5 seed with Syracuse.
Yeah, I mean, Sacramento State, we'll see how they face off. I mean, they're getting the automatic bid from their conference. They went all the way. They 4-1 to Idaho, then had a great Game 7 victory over Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks from NAU looked to do work, but, I mean, the Hornets, they prevailed, getting that 5 seed, trying to take down Syracuse early.
This is Sac State. I mean, coming into the season, no one would have thought they were going to be a conference champion. Everyone thought it was going to be Northern Arizona. They were going to wipe everybody. Sac State in week 2 pulls off the stunning 3-1 victory over NAU. Remain unbeaten, go to the conference tournament, knock off NAU in game 7 of the grand finals with Bepic and I were actually on that call. Heck of a series out of Sac State. The defense was incredible. The offense, when it is on fire, is insane. This should be an exciting 7-game series.
Yeah, again, one of the only undefeated teams left here in CCS, looking to defend that, going toe-to-toe against Syracuse, but you always have San Diego State lurking up top as the 1.
Moving forward, number 2 as the 7 overall seed here in this conference, in this CCS championships, Florida International at number 2, a team that is captained by Zernite. They've dominated their conference tournament. They made LA Tech look rough, and LA Tech has looked great all season, but Florida International killed them.
Yeah, Florida International. There's only been a couple teams to do this, and Florida International, the Panthers, they were another one of their teams to sweep their way through the conference tournament. Swept Middle Tennessee State, swept Liberty, and then swept the Louisiana Tech. They made it look easy coming in as the 2 seed. They're looking to do work against a pretty interesting opponent.
It's FIU, the 7 seeds. They're matched up with number 2, which is SDSU, for those of you wondering. As moving forward, their opponent, this is a pick. I'm calling it now. It's going to happen. The upset's happening. Number 7, the Red Raiders, Texas Tech versus FIU in round 1.
I mean, this should be an incredible match to see. I mean, Texas Tech going toe-to-toe with Florida International. I mean, Texas Tech, they're always such a fun team to watch. They have a really solid fan base as well, who I'm assuming is going to be cheering them on. We'll see if they can take down the Panthers here in round number 1.
And the Red Raiders, this is a game that I'll go ahead and leak it now. We're seeing this in the mainstream, guys. Next Friday, this is a mainstream game, FIU Texas Tech, right here on twitch.tv/Collegiate CS. Joe and I will be on the call for this one. It's going to be an exciting round 1 game. Anything can happen moving forward. This program has done a lot this season. Storylines have built up for this. They're excited to be here. Go Big Red, the Nebraska Cornhuskers at number 3.
I mean, this team has had a Cinderella run and a half. They have been making some insane plays, of course, making it all the way to the conference grand finals before dropping their first L of the season, all the way in Game 7 against Oregon, having one of the most legendary series against Purdue. I mean, the Cornhuskers, they've been immaculate this season.
And they've played one of the most legendary series in CCS, and they've had a couple of insanity moments throughout this course of the conference tournament, even the regular season, and it's been a fun storyline to watch. I'm excited to watch this program compete for a national title. And Nebraska, their opponent, we'll see on the main street. Number 6 to close the night, Northern Arizona in the West.
Yeah, Northern Arizona versus Nebraska. This should be another very solid matchup. And I think, me and you, Nation, I think we're really just interested to see how Nebraska is able to perform against NAU. The Lumberjacks, they're going to be looking to cut down Nebraska into their prime. But, I mean, the Cornhuskers, they have beat some incredible teams. We'll see if they can do it again.
This is another tough region. I think couple of these games are 50-50. I mean, the bottom 3 probably 50-50. Syracuse, Saxony could go either way. FIU, Texas Tech. I mean, it's a game that FIU should probably win, but I think Texas Tech could pull it off if they can play well. And Assyrium, obviously the captain there, if he can lead this offense to be successful, that could be a long one. And then Nebraska and NAU, both those teams are super solid. I'm expecting a fun one there.
Yeah, I'm thinking San Diego State, they're still going to come out on top as the 1 seed, but I got to be honest, I'm really hoping to see a run from Nebraska, Big Red, trying to take down Northern Arizona. Of course, they do have the advantage of the seeding, but Northern Arizona, solid team. They'll try and take that one out, then play either Florida International or Texas Tech again. That could be big upset potential there, but I really want to see the Cinderella run from Nebraska continue.
It's got a tough bracket, though. I mean, NIU could be a close round 1 game, then FIU or Texas Tech in round 2. I mean, it could go either way. Nebraska has a tough pull, but again, the storyline is built up, and there's 8 teams left to reveal, 8 teams hoping for a chance to compete in the CCS national tournament. We're going to go down to the Midwest here for our final region. Number 1, the number 3 overall seed. They remain in the woman after a loss. The Jayhawks of Kansas at number 1.
Yeah, even after the conference grand final loss to Colorado, who the Buffaloes, again, played out of their minds in that series. They had a slow start, and Kansas, they were just not able to finish the 3-1 series lead. But still number 1 in the Midwest, the Jayhawks, they're looking to do work.
Indeed, the Jayhawks at number 1. Their opponent, number 8, Nevada, joined the field with KU. This is a tough game for Nevada as they couldn't go in the West because SDSU and them are in the same conference. That's why they could not play.
Yeah, having an 8 seed couldn't match them up, but Nevada, they had a pretty good season so far. They made their way through, of course, had some very tough series in the conference, in their conference finals. I mean, going all the way to Game 5 with Colorado State, going all the way to Game 7 with San Jose State. I mean, they prevailed over both those teams, but of course fell to the Aztecs 0-4 in the conference grand finals. We'll see what they can do against Kansas. That's a very tough pull.
Indeed, a tough pull for Kansas. With number 4 here in the Midwest, Purdue, the Boilermakers, after probably the most legendary series of all time in CCS, Nebraska, the reverse sweep in the semifinal of the Big Ten tournament. Now they're joined here with Kansas in the Midwest, a 4 seed for Purdue. Their round 1 opponent, Niner Esports.
Yeah, this should be a really interesting matchup here. A very solid 4-5 matchup. Purdue obviously dropping in their conference tournament to Nebraska in a legendary run. But seeing Charlotte, they also had a very, very tough grand finals, falling to UNT Black. It looked like they had their conference tournament victory in the bag. It looked like they were going to get the automatic bid, but instead they get the pull from the committee as a 5 seed.
I mean, it's shaping to be a tough field here for both these teams. I mean, Purdue and Niner Esports, talented rosters. This would be a really fun, a best of 7, and I would assume that Kansas will knock off Nevada in 4 games, maybe 5 if they troll one of them. But I think KU, and we're set up for a KU Purdue, KU Charlotte round 2 game, and I think we'll go ahead and reveal this next team, number 2, the number 6 overall seed here in the championships, Oregon, the Ducks. KU Oregon in round 3.
I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, I'm really excited to see how the Ducks do in this tournament. Of course, living in Oregon myself, going to Oregon State spent a decent amount of time with this Oregon roster, seeing them play quite a bit. Really, really excited to see how they perform. Of course, getting the Game 7 victory over Nebraska in their conference tournament all the way in Grands, where it was the first team to hand the Cornhuskers an L, winning their way to a 2 spot. We'll see how far they get.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon started the season with the forfeit, obviously, to Nebraska is imminent, and Steve's no-showed. They were at the gym, didn't respond to Discord. That's how it all happened. And the Game 5 loss after the Swiss stage and the Real Sports Live event we did, they had to play UCLA right after. They lost in Game 5, and they've been perfect ever since, starting from Week 3. They have gone through the Big Ten tournament, dominated everybody, and they end up with a 2 seed.
Yeah, a very solid look for this team. Definitely going to be excited in following them through this bracket, hoping we get to see them play Kansas, because that matchup of the Birds could be really insane.
For sure, but number 7 here in the Midwest, number 7, Clemson. They barely slide in. The Tigers join the field.
Yeah, Clemson, they were another team that had a tough conference tournament. Round 1, they matched up with Virginia Tech, and they fell in a Game 5 loss, but still made it in because they placed second in the group stage, had a 7-1 record through that regular season, just had a very, very rough game or very rough series against Virginia Tech, but still making their place here, and now they have to try and take down the Ducks.
It's going to be a tough one for Clemson. I don't think it happens. Oregon's tough. They're a tough team to beat. They've not lost in a very long time. But we'll see what Clemson can put together for round 1 on Friday. But number 3 here in the Midwest, another really tough opponent. And Oregon actually played them relatively recently. Number 3, Indiana, the Hoosiers here in the Midwest.
Yeah, again, this is another team looking forward to seeing how they perform. Indiana, they've looked pretty solid all throughout. I think very well deserving of that 3 seed. We'll see if they're going to be able to make their way through. Of course, if they win their round 1 match, most likely will face off against Oregon. So that could be another amazing rematch.
And indeed, in the final team in the CCS championships and at large, number 6, the Bulldogs. Butler finished the field.
Yeah, Butler coming into this one. Again, they were looking really, really good in their conference. But then, of course, I mean, no one could expect UConn to make their statement as they did. I mean, Butler, they were undefeated through the regular season. But then when it came to the conference grand finals, they matched up with the Connecticut Huskies, and UConn put in work. But Butler still did quite enough to make their spot here as a 6th seed.
Let's go take a look at our last 4 teams in the field and our first 4 teams out. Pitt, Jack State, Illinois, and Rutgers barely sliding in. Louisiana, Utah, Virginia Tech, and Cal all barely out.
Yeah, some of these teams, very, very tough to see them not make it in. Louisiana, of course, trying to make it in. Utah was a tough team to see fall, and not quite making it. Cal, of course, finishing 6-3, not quite able to make it. Virginia Tech, even though they had that upset victory over Clemson, still not able to make it in as well. But you got to give props to those last 4 teams to secure those spots.
Yeah, Cal, I think that's one you could argue that they should have been in. They had a really good regular season, but they had the quality opponent playing. They played 7 quality games, but they only won a couple of them, and they beat Pitt in the last game of the season. They played Syracuse very strongly, but I mean, them and Virginia Tech, they made runs, but Cal couldn't advance far enough in that conference tournament. Again, like I mentioned, the Pitt-Cal round 1 game, that was a play-in game, and Pitt won it in game 4, hence why they were one of the last few teams in.
Yeah, I mean, all of these teams so talented, some very, very tough decisions made by the committee. I mean, I think you could honestly argue that all four of those teams had a possibility of making it in. Utah being a very solid team known for that big upsets against Kansas. I mean, that's still an incredible series that we saw. Virginia Tech had a big upset in the conference tournament, but not able to make it. Louisiana had a great season, but all of these teams just falling short.
Yeah, the problem for the committee with a couple of these programs, Louisiana and Utah both 0-3 against the field. They were not able to beat any of the teams selected for the tournament, hence why they were left out. Virginia Tech played a couple of great quality games, but unfortunately for them, the Hokies just didn't have the quality wins to get in, and California, again, just the same reason as Virginia Tech. Couldn't win the clutch games, couldn't get a bid from the committee.
Yeah, I mean, the committee, they're pretty thorough from what I hear about their picks, their research, and their reasons why each team makes it. Very confident in their decision. I'm hoping we have a great tournament ahead of us.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I hope we do. It's crazy watching the teams at the beginning of the season. How I'm like, okay, these teams are automatically going to get in. There's no way they don't get in. Season closes and they're left out. And that's kind of what I thought about Utah and Louisiana. Utah had a legendary season 2. They come into season 3 on a high foot and the new third and getting back to their old ways, and they just couldn't get in.
Yeah, sometimes it does just happen like that. I mean, Utah, they're always such a fun team to watch. They have some of the highest highs of teams in CCS, of course, that legendary win against Kansas last season. But unfortunately, to not see them make it in, that is tough to see. Cal, of course, not being able to get that winning in. But sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. But the teams that did make it, I'm sure they're going to be thrilled.
Indeed. Let's take a look at the full bracket here. As this bracket is massive. It is stacked. So here's the full bracket. Everyone can see it. This is going to be a heck of a tournament.
I mean, that's just a beautiful image right there. All of these teams coming together through all the regions, trying to make their way through this single elimination should be absolutely insane.
Insanity ahead of us. I mean, this bracket is tough. The committee really had a tough time picking these games, as you know, predictions wise, and there's a lot of these games that are going to be super close. Must watch CCS TV next Friday. Round 1, just next Friday is round 1. There's going to be a ton of great games, 16 games across 4 streams, starting at 7 Eastern, with the last games kicking off at 10 in prime time here at the CCS channel.
Yeah, it should be absolutely so much fun to watch between all of these teams. Should be extremely competitive all throughout. We're going to get all those matches on stream, so you can either pick one team to follow, or you can just have all the streams up and try and watch as much CCS action as you can. But it'll be competitive either way, and ultimately it should be a tons of fun.
Well, we're going to go a quick break. When we come back, we've got a special guest joining us for the next segment of the selection show. So do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And Mr. Bebic, how y'all doing?
Fantastic. That was a fun show, guys. I'm glad to be joining it at the tail end of it, so I don't have to do the hard stuff like revealing teams. I just get to say opinions like always.
You know, I mean, it was a fun show. I mean, a couple of great teams being left out, unfortunately, but a lot of solid matches in round 1.
I mean, yeah, there really is. I mean, there's so much incredible Rocket League to be played. I know I'm going to be trying to... I myself as a fan want to watch as much as possible, but going to be casting, going to be very exciting, and it should just be some incredible Rocket League all around.
Indeed, and for those of you asking, Jonas and I will be on the main stream together all 3 days, and unfortunately, we wish Bepic could be here, but he's got other things he has to take care of. But Bepic, I hope you're able to watch some of the actions. It's really sad that you're not able to be here.
Yeah, I know. Timing didn't line up for me, but like looking at this bracket, there's a pit in my stomach right now that I won't be able to partake in the festivities that is going to be this national championship, because I think the majority of just the round one matches, let alone round two and beyond, are such good series. There aren't going to be a ton of blowouts. Like the entertainment is going to be unbelievable.
It's going to be insanity. I mean, these round one games are nuts. I mean, ton of close games. I mean, you look at the bracket itself, and Nebraska's in NAU in round one. That storyline there that could build up, and then I called the Texas Tech upset. I think it's going to happen, but a lot of these games is going to be super close. Must watch.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be trying to tune into every single series we have on the table. I mean, A stream through the D stream should be absolutely packed full of incredible Collegiate Rocket League, and the upsets to be happen. We're going to see some dominant teams take place, try and move their way through, but ultimately, I don't know what I'm going to try and keep an eye on all around.
Well, I got to ask y'all, what's your match you're looking forward to in round one? Like at the top of your list, must watch for you guys.
Ooh, I think selfishly, Purdue versus Niner Esports is mine, because that is a series that I watched on Monday Night Lights. I don't know how long it was, like 2 months, 3 months maybe. And Purdue had a 3-1 best of 7 lead over UNCC, and the Niners ended up coming back and winning that in Game 7. It was one of the most craziest series I've ever watched, and I'm excited for that rematch.
Yeah, I am too. That's going to be a fun game, and I think Purdue, Charlotte, they go all the way. This is a Game 6 kind of Game 7 area series. I think if those teams can give it their all, I think we could see a long one there.
Absolutely. I think my pick, it has to be Nebraska. Them versus Northern Arizona should be so much fun to watch. I mean, this team has made an incredible run. They've sure made an impact here on CCS and on myself. I mean, their win over Purdue was insane. So I really want to see if they're able to keep things going as a 3 seed and see how far they make it.
Right. I mean, it's really tough to pick this tournament. I mean, predicting this tournament's going to be, borderline impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, but sleeper pick though, in the same region as you just talked about, Jonas, Nebraska and NAU, Syracuse and Sac State is another good one. Like Syracuse kind of slipping down the slip and slide of a trek they've been on the last couple of weeks, with Sac State just having won their conference. That honestly, on paper, like you asked me 2 months ago, so Syracuse blows them out. No, right now I think Sac State actually has an advantage, and I'm very excited to see the result of that one.
I am too.
Yeah, definitely going to be one of the most competitive 4 or 5 matches that we have on the docket, and we'll see if Sac State can persevere, try and catch Syracuse out. But if the Orange, if they're able to rise back to form, we might see them try and even have a run against San Diego State.
Yeah, I think Indiana Butler is a great round one game as well. Nebraska, NAU, we talked about that a lot. I think over here on the west side of the bracket as well, Connecticut and Alabama, that's going to be a great one too.
Oh yeah, my boys at Bama need to keep the momentum going, because honestly they could have beaten Texas A&M. I think in that SEC semifinal, they're on a good streak, and I always criticize that Bama team for having long good streaks and long really bad streaks. And so if they hit their stride next weekend, they could pull some upsets. I don't know if they're beating UTK, but I think UConn is definitely a doable series for them.
I think that's just 2 teams that you don't hear talked about a lot in the same conversation together. UConn, of course, being up from the north, Alabama from down south, now clashing in round 1 just for a shot to, probably face off and maybe just probably lose against Tennessee, because, the Volunteers, they are just such a force to be reckoned with. They're going to be looking to move their way through the East pretty comfortably.
So, moving into the next topic, Cinderella. A team that's ranked 5th through 8th. Any of you guys believe in a Cinderella run of somebody here? If you had to make a pick for 5 through 8 seed, who's making a run?
I'll let Jonas start.
Thank you. If I had to pick a team, I feel like Buds at GSU. They're a 5 seed in the South. Very tough conference. They'd have to take down Colorado, but as seeing the Buds play, I think if they're able to, come into that Colorado series confident, they're able to take down the Longhorns of Texas, face off against Colorado. I think it's definitely possible. Maybe try and meet Tennessee in the last four. I think it's they have a chance.
I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I was leaning towards Buds because those are my guys right there, and I was thinking that's a good team, a streaky team that could hit their stride during this tournament. But I think on the opposite side of the bracket, I'm sticking with my guys from Sac State. Like they have seriously impressed me. Watching them compete against NAU, it was close, but Sac State was finding ways to win. I think the series against Syracuse will be close again, but doable. And I mean, if it's SDSU or Rutgers in the second round, that'll be a tough one. But Sacramento State, that's a Cinderella for sure.
Yeah, their defense got into a little bit of a rough spot though. If you remember that series against NAU where they were up 3-1, but then NAU's offense really started to come alive and make Sac State pay for every single mistake. They went all the way to Game 7 too. That was a heck of a series. Or Sac State finally closed it down. Their final attempt to close down that series and get an AQ here to the tournament. And I think for me, I had to play off the upset. Texas Tech is my Cinderella pick here for the championships.
Yeah, that's very fair as well. I mean, Texas Tech as a 7 seed seems almost criminal, but they are a very, very solid team. They're gonna have to take down Florida International, then either Northern Arizona or Nebraska, who's looking to continue staying hot, and then eventually looking towards a team like Syracuse, Sac State, or San Diego State in round 3. But I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
Especially not if their 3-0 loss to UCF was a fluke. Like, if that was a fluke and TCU still the same Texas Tech we kind of expect from the Red Raiders, then I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah, I it depends on how they open things up next Friday, obviously. With FIU being tough offensively, we called that series bad pick against LA Tech. Mm-hmm. They just looked insanity offensively wise. Kai and Zernite came alive on both ends of the field, and LA Tech just had no answer.
No, FIU's a really good team, and they're confident too. Wasn't that the team? Wasn't it Zernite that said we're not going to lose a single game in the conference tournament?
Yeah,
it didn't.
They went perfect.
Yeah,
that was a W pick on a Zernite, I guess. He had that confidence, and they went 11-0 in the conference tournament. I mean, it was tough for them, but they pulled it out.
I mean, that's a really good mindset to have, especially now moving into a tournament like this with even tougher teams all colliding. I think really got to keep up that mindset. Of course, going against Texas Tech, 2 seed versus 7 seed to start it off, maybe one of the most hype, upset 7 seeds you're going against. You're looking to shut them down, keep your season going. I think they're going to have to keep that mental up.
Moving on to predictions. What do you guys think will happen next week then?
Chaos.
Yeah. If we're just saying blanket things that we think are going to happen, a lot of eliminations.
Picks for the national semifinals?
I think he's right.
Are we gonna list our top 4?
So
I think we have to.
Okay.
Dronas, did you come prepared for this, or are you thinking on the fly as well?
I'm thinking on the fly as well, man. I want to try and pick some upsets in here, but I think it's going to be tough. Top 4. I'm going to put I'm just going to move south, east, west, midwest. From the south, I do think that the Buffaloes are going to make it. I see not a lot of teams being able to slow them down. I mean, James Madison, obviously a tough team. The Aggies have had some good runs. UCF, they've been looking good, and mentioned, the Buds maybe having that Cinderella run, but ultimately I think Colorado, such a dominant team to take it. I think they're going to make their way through it. From the East, similarly, I hate to pick back-to-back 1 seeds, but I just feel like Tennessee, again, such another dominant force. We'll have to see how they do against a team like Bama. If Bama is able to take down UConn, Florida State going to be looking to make their way to round 3, try and collide with UTK. But I think from the South and the East, I got to go with the 2 1 seeds in Colorado and Tennessee. From the West, I am going to go with Nebraska. Just because I want to see it happen, okay? Yes, I want them to try and take down NAU, then Florida International, then SDSU. We'll see if it's possible. Honestly, I'm just hoping it happens. And then from the Midwest, I actually and thinking that the Ducks are gonna make it through. I want to see the UO boys do it. I want to see them try and take down Clemson, then maybe Indiana or Butler, then have that round 3 matchup with Kansas, which could be a very, very tough matchup. But I think that those are gonna be my picks: Colorado, Tennessee, Nebraska, and Oregon.
All right, I agree with a couple of those. I wanted to go Nebraska as well, and I was hoping you weren't going to pick Nebraska, so I could be like, oh, I'm picking Nebraska, be the first one to do that. But no, I agree. I think Florida International versus Nebraska in round 2, if that's what we get, will be an absolute banger. But I'm gonna say Nebraska. Keep that story going. I'll stick with Kansas. I don't want to copy you completely, Dronis. I think Kansas, even though they're coming off of a loss, that loss is to Colorado. And I'm of the opinion, and this is reflected in how I personally seeded everything, that if you lose the number 1 overall team in like a conference championship, then you deserve to be the number 2 overall team. So I'd be going against that if I didn't think Kansas was gonna still make a run. So I think Kansas, Nebraska. I'd say James Madison. In the on the Colorado side of things, I think they're going to be my big upset pick, taking down Colorado in the quarterfinals, and then they'll play UTK in the Final Four because the Volunteers are my boys.
I guess all I wanted to hear is I think it's going to be Colorado out of the South. They should advance no problem. I don't think anyone will be able to stand up to them. I think their offense is too good. I don't think the defense at any one of these teams can hold up with Colorado. I mean, they've got so many weapons. It doesn't matter if Yokes has no boost. Thumper, Digo, Brazy, just as mechanical. They're just too good. I don't think anyone stops them out of the South. That's my personal opinion. It could happen, though. We'll see. I think out of the East, I think Tennessee and Connecticut round 2 is going to be an absolute banger. I think Connecticut, if they could show up. Gavin was nuts, but I don't know if it's enough to take down Tennessee. But I'm going to go Tennessee. But I think UConn could put up a fight. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
You believe that?
I do, but I'm also biased because they play in BLCS, so I have to be.
No conversation for Bama to take down UConn.
I think UConn's too good, but we'll see. But I like the Alabama guys, but I think UConn might be a step too high. But we'll see. Out of the West, there's so many teams; it's tough to pick. But I have to go Texas Tech. I think if they can survive the first 2 rounds, Texas Tech against SCSU could be good. But I don't know. There's so many tough games. In the Midwest, I'm going to Oregon.
Okay.
Man, you're all over the place seating wise.
A 1, 1, 2, and then a 7.
That's what the Cinderella is about. Deep runs, and there's always one team in these NCAA championships that always has a low seed and they go super far. I think Texas Tech is going to be that team for us.
Okay.
I think Nebraska. I think Nebraska are going to take him down if they're already not taken down by the Panthers at FIU. Again, that's such an incredible 2-7 matchup. For that to be a round 1 match, it sounds insane.
Indeed, but even the FSU Illinois game is insane for a 2-7 round 1. That's another one that's going to be tight. I think Illinois can get a good performance out of Peaceful and get help from his teammates. That could be a fun one. But I expect FSU to take it out of control.
Illinois is my biggest surprise of the season. They have consistently underperformed, and I'm not entirely sure why. So I agree that if they show up and are the Illinois that I thought they were coming into this season, then they could give FSU some trouble. But Illinois has not done anything consistently. I'm like, all right, they're gonna start taking over. Peaceful's gonna start dominating lobbies like you'd expect Peaceful to be able to, but I haven't seen anything from Illinois, honestly, that would suggest they could take down FSU round 1.
Yeah, but if they can catch on a bad day and then you get great production of Peaceful, it could go either way, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
There are no bad days at FSU, only good ones.
Well, as BetPick and I are committee members, we're going to open the floor to chat to ask us some questions and about the tournament, how it was seeded. Anyone have any questions that they'd like us to answer?
This is your chance to take shots. If you had problems with power rankings all season, this is your opportunity to at least take out 2 of the 5 committee members.
Who's the best committee member, says Shu. I mean, I love them all. They're all chill people, so I think everyone's great.
Pop out answer. It's Luigi.
What's it going to take for UTK to become a number 1 seed? Well, I guess going all the way would be the answer to that. Starting
If you want my opinion on why UTK wasn't the number 1 overall seed, is because Kansas and Colorado were the 1 and 2s coming into the conference championships. Colorado obviously won theirs, and Kansas was super close with Colorado, which I think means they should stay as the top 2 seeds. And then, honestly, the only thing that kept SDSU above UTK for me the entire season was the head-to-head series that they played in the was it preseason or midseason tournament? Around there, where SDSU reverse swept them. It's the only thing.
It was the preseason tournament. There was 3-0 lead for Tennessee, and SDSU out of nowhere came back, erased the deficit, won in Game 7, 4-3 over Tennessee. They remained ahead of them all season. And that was a head-to-head that the committee thought that deserved to stay atop Tennessee there.
Yeah, and yes, Dylan, we only use CCS. Well, it's majority CCS results for me. I think power factors in a little bit when you don't have head-to-head stuff, but yeah, it's mostly CCS.
I think to go back to Dylan's question, too, for Tennessee becoming number 1, I think going into the next fall, assuming Tennessee returns, I mean, they have to obviously be a national champion. Then you also have to value the new teams coming in, like Akron. That's another top team that's coming in the fall. How does Tennessee stand up to Akron Gold? That's a question the committee will have to answer.
That's really good.
That would be hype. I would love to see that, because we were supposed to get the Bluegrass Boost Battle back in February. It's supposed to be like, it wasn't exactly Akron Gold, and obviously different UTK team, but we were supposed to get that matchup in the grand finals, but UTK threw it away. So I'm still kind of like hurting for an Akron UTK matchup at any rate.
I mean, Akron Gold in the fall will be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, Jonathan, Trevor, Emilio, and Oxytocin, very talented roster. Going to do a lot of damage to CCS in the fall.
Sorry, D-Hacks, yes. You guys did beat UTK. But you guys 4-0 sweeping that UTK roster was partially the Volunteers throwing that away. You guys look great. You guys look great, though. And you made it close against Akron as well, which was more than we could have asked for. So don't worry about that.
Cincinnati's going to have a tough tournament. I mean, they've got a tough reaching, but a lot of close games. I think Cincinnati, they look great. Epic and I called a couple of games. They beat Florida State on your channel, Epic, too, a couple weeks ago on MNL. We did the CCS night. That was a heck of a series. I think Cincinnati's offense can get help out of Cy and D-Hacks, and Frick plays a good back in defense. I mean, they could make a run.
Since he's had my respect all season. But if you're calling me out for disrespect, D-Hacks, what happened at the Queen City Clash? I'll ask you that.
Yikes.
Oh man. I do also want to return to Taquito's question, Nation. He has, why the hell did you pick Tech?
I mean, here's the thing about Texas Tech. I mean, it's a talented roster, don't get me wrong. Nasirium is very good, but it's a question of his teammates. How much can Chermo and Bramble help Nasirium on both ends of the field? If they get good production out of the team, they could be poised for a run. But if it's just Nasirium playing at his peak and Chermo and Bramble don't put up much of a performance, they're doomed. But that's the question for Texas Tech. And coming in, 17 for Texas Tech, criminal. But their season just wasn't really that quite good enough. They beat Utah in 5, took Colorado to game 5, both teams had a sub. Keep in mind that. But again, it just depends on what Nasirium gets out of his teammates.
Yeah, that 3-0 sweep against UCF really hurt them. I think that dropped their seed a lot. If they just got that win, then I think they have a much more respectable seeding. But you get swept in the quarterfinals to a team that you should, at the very least, be extremely competitive with. That's a bad blemish on the resume.
Yeah, I think also for UCF, they didn't even have Sabriel, and they swept Texas Tech.
Yeah,
and that was another nail in the coffin for Texas Tech seeding. I think had they knocked off UCF and whatever score, it truly should have been a 3-1 or 3-0 maybe, they probably would have ended up on like a low 5, high 6, and maybe had a bit of an easier round 1 game.
And I think one of the only other questions we missed was from Jesse, asking us what's our guaranteed first round match, but no chance the favorite just wins round 1.
But I'm not quite sure I'm understanding the question.
Yeah.
So like the high seed in round 1 just wins, no doubt.
Well, I'm number 1 seed. There's no way to lose from 8 seed. But my words will be eaten whenever it happens.
If we want to like bet our lives on a series being a win for the favorites, I think I would probably bet on Kansas against Nevada. That's one I bet my life on.
That is the one that I would pick as well. I like the guys from Nevada. 80 is a homie, but I think Kansas they're just too solid of a team, and I don't know if Nevada can really bring it to the table.
Yeah, I think if I had to bet my life, I'm putting my money in all my life on Colorado and Kansas to win. I think there's no going wrong there. I don't think Jack State or Nevada can keep up with either of those two teams, but I'll be standing corrected whenever something crazy happens. But I think Colorado and Kansas are very talented. They should have no problem advancing past round 1.
I think all of the 1 seeds shouldn't have too big a problem advancing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna have Shoe on socials. We'll get the upset alerts going, and if someone's in trouble, I'm sure it'll get posted, and we'll see what ends up happening. But we're gonna move forward. And for those of you, we did leak something earlier. Akron Gold's coming to CCS in the fall, but keeping in mind this, there is now non-conference scheduling coming in the fall. So we're going to see a lot of out-of-conference opponents. We'll see how aggressive some of these teams schedule their opponents for the fall. And Season 4 of CCS in the fall will be returning Sunday, September 1st in 2024. It's going to be a heck of a season. Championships November 8th through the 10th.
Yay! Yes! I'm so happy we have non-conference play because that makes power ranking and seeding everybody so much easier. So thank you.
It does, yeah.
It's gonna come down to the tournament resumes at the end of the season with the non-conference out of scheduling, the strength of schedules, and everything too. I mean, it's gonna make another metric for us to have to look at.
Yay!
Well, any closing thoughts out of you guys?
I love Collegiate Rocket League.
I second those sentiments. I can't wait for next weekend.
I'm so excited. Jordan and I are gonna have so much fun. I think I'm so sad you can't be here, but I'm sure you're gonna be watching whenever you can and keeping you up to update with what's going on. And it's so much fun. The committee's had a couple of long nights figuring this out, but the bracket is incredible insanity coming your way next Friday. All games, must watch TV. So we're gonna go to our closing show. Is Jordan and Epic. Thanks for joining me. It's been the 3 of us on the call. We'll see you all next.